Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Good evening and welcome to Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host Simon Kagwa, Njala. And well, tonight we put a spotlight on the factors affecting the promotion of girl-child education in Uganda and also attempt to finding lasting solutions to the problem. And as it stands today, latest statistics indicate that the dropout rate of the girl child in Uganda is going well above 20%, despite efforts by government and other stakeholders to provide free primary and secondary education and also to ensure retention of the girl child in school. The crucial issues we are looking at tonight are in the promotion of the girl child education are retention and dropout. We're looking at equity, enrollment, quality achievement in school subjects, and others. And well, tonight we are hosting one of the key stakeholders in ensuring that girl child education is a major highlight in the national program in Uganda, and that is Forum for African Women in Education. They've made very key strides in ensuring that the girl child benefits from education and they stay in school. With me in the studio tonight, I have Malcolm Twinomkunzi Mpamizo. Good evening.
Good evening.
He is the program officer from FAWE. I also have Martha Muhwezi, the executive director, FAWE. Welcome.
Good evening.
I also have Mr. Tukesiga Julius coming from FAWE as well, the monitoring and evaluation officer from FAWE. How are you?
Good evening, our listeners.
Great. Now, we're looking at a very contentious issue. Contentious in a way that women activists have made it an issue. Is girl child education something worth highlighting? Let me start with Martha.
Yeah, thank you so much, Simon. I would want to say girl child education is a very crucial issue that needs critical attention. And it is not for any wrong reason that so many people are out to promote or to participate in the promotion of girl child education. And this goes back to history and so many other factors that do affect the education of the girl children.
Give us a sense of the status of the girl child education here in Uganda at the moment, from your statistics and survey.
Yeah, thank you. When we look at Uganda today, definitely it's different from Uganda 20 years, 30 years back. A lot has been done in promotion of girl child education, and that is because it was realized by so many stakeholders that if there was no deliberate effort to support the girl children, definitely there would be a big challenge. And looking at statistics now, you will realize that the enrollment is more or less at par, particularly when you go to the primary level. The girls are in school, the boys are in school. And it has not been by default, but it has been because of the deliberate effort by the many stakeholders and government to ensure that girls go to school. When we talk of enrollment, there's great achievement. The challenge now that remains and that still needs a lot of attention is the retention and the completion rates. They are still a challenge right from primary through secondary.
Yeah, when we see today that government has rolled out a UPE and USE program, you'd assume that everything is okay, schools are in place, and children should be going to school. Government has encouraged parents to take their children to school. So why the fuss?
Yeah, it's true, and it should be appreciated that the government has played a very, very big role in ensuring that the children go to school, and that's through the universal primary education, universal secondary. But one thing we don't want to forget is while the government has put the policies in place to ensure that the children are in school, there are so many other factors that do hinder the children from going to school. They will relate from social, from economical, from the parenthood, and so many other factors that would hinder the children from going to school. And that's why they call for a number of interventions to ensure that those interventions supplement the good efforts of government to have the children go to school.
What's the current percentage of girl children in school as we speak?
Yeah, I may not give the concrete percentage of girl children because it varies from level to level. If you look at primary,
yes,
it's different. You look at secondary, it's different. You look at university, it's different. And when you look at primary, I think it is about 50% of the children in school. When you move to secondary, it's over 47%. When you go to university, it's above 25%. So the percentages differ from level to level. But all in all, there has been definitely tremendous effort in having these children go to school. And like I've already mentioned, this is all attributed to the deliberate efforts by the different key stakeholders to have the children in.
Do you count yourself among them?
Definitely.
Well, to Kesiga Julius,
Yes.
you're the monitoring and evaluation officer. We need to look at the entire process, right from enrollment, retention to graduation. What happens all along the way that we've seen so many girls dropping out?
Okay, thank you, moderator. From the time these girls enroll to school and at the time they complete, there is always a decline in terms of retention and in terms of completion. And the factors, as the executive director has already mentioned, some of them vary from school, community, and family. So you find that, if I may talk more about the community and the family, at family level, you find that even when the government has provided the free education, like UPE and the universal secondary education,
Right.
The role of the parents, the role of the community is not coming out, like they are not playing their role. Here I may mention their role in terms of, for instance, sending children to school. These girls enroll, but at a certain level they drop out, and these parents are there watching. Even when all the school requirements are there, like FAWE has a program for scholarship where they provide up to basic scholastic materials, but we find some girls.
How basic? Could you tell us some of the basics?
Okay. Like for the girls, we provide from school fees, we provide scholastic materials, exercise books, pens, sets, sanitary pads, uniform. But with all those, you find some girls drop out because their parents are not able to support them in terms of keep encouraging them to stay in school and complete the...
Julius, I need to know this. Do you provide them across the board? Are all girls in the country receiving
not
all
all
these?
the girls. This is for few selected beneficiaries from particular districts and from particular backgrounds, like the vulnerable girls, bright but disadvantaged. So they are usually selected and are supported to pursue their education at the various...
How vulnerable should someone be to access your freebies?
The vulnerability will vary, but we are looking at children that are orphans. We are looking at children that are from families where both parents are there, but economically they can't support the children. We are looking at child-headed families. We are looking at children from families where parents are affected or infected with HIV, and they are unable to struggle to provide the needs for the children.
Is this a national program?
Yeah, it's a national program. But like it has been said, definitely FAWE has the will to support as many girls as possible. But definitely the capacity may not allow us to reach all the vulnerable children countrywide.
And while we examine the causes of girl child dropout from schools, do you ever look at the social culture factors also coming in handy?
Yeah, we do. We do. Before we come up with any program to support the children, definitely there's a lot of analysis that is made, and the analysis made is at all levels. We look at the cultural factors, we look at the social factors, we look at the economic factors, we look at the political factors, there are so many factors that we look at, and all those guide us in the selection and the provision of support to the children.
Yeah, but of the issues I highlighted when we were beginning this show, I looked at retention and dropout. We've looked quite extensively at retention and dropout.
Yes.
Indeed, today, retention remains a huge challenge to both schools, government, and other stakeholders. Agreed?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dropout is also very apparent. Now, we're looking at the quality of education. Is this quality of education worth retaining these girls in school? Maybe I will take this to you, Malcolm.
Thank you very much, Simon. Like you've rightly said, the issues of retention and dropout are very, very imminent and pertinent. And when you talk about the quality of the education, that is another issue that needs to be addressed, because, like you said, it is important to see whether the quality of education matches the effort that is being put in to have the children retained. We must appreciate, though, that the quality of education that is there right now is good enough for the children. The children should be able to benefit from it, rather than having no education at all. The quality of education that is there is good enough for them to benefit, and therefore we should do what we can to ensure that they stay in school.
Where do you base your finding? Yet the recent report indicated that some children get to P7 when they cannot even write a paragraph, when they can't even express themselves.
Well, Simon, like I was saying, it starts with going to school, and then we look at the quality of education. It should be a multifaceted approach. Whereas we are placing emphasis on retaining and giving access to these children to go to school, it is important as well that we look at the quality, and that the quality is good enough so that when they go through school, they actually can become credible citizens of this country and be beneficial to their communities and to the nation at large.
Well, when we're looking at quality, the quality of education today is being affected grossly by teacher and pupil absenteeism. We're looking at teacher absenteeism as well as one of the factors that could be contributing to girls losing morale of going to school. Could this be true?
I want to come in at that point. Yes, it is true. Previous studies have indicated that the teacher absenteeism as well as pupil absenteeism partly contributes to the low quality of education. I want to talk about it in terms of school management.
Yes.
Looking at the whole picture of school management, you find that there are issues that have contributed to the situation of teacher absenteeism and pupils absenteeism, and this is arising from the role of the parents, as I already said.
Yes.
And when I talk about the role of the parents, I talk also, I reflect the role of the school management, for instance, committees in the schools, as well as the board of governors at secondary level. Find that the parents themselves are not participating in monitoring the teaching and learning of their children. They are called for meetings, for instance, at the school. They do not want to attend the meetings.
So parents take a laid-back attitude.
Yeah.
Why are we having this trend?
Perhaps it is because...
Is it natural?
I don't say it is natural.
I don't think it's natural. I think it is the issue of attitude. It is... it's a situation where people want to shun off from their responsibilities, where you think the child has gone to school and that is it. And I think this is worse in situations where the parents also have low levels of education. If you compare the rural schools and compare them to the urban schools, definitely there is a very big difference. And I would personally think that is related to the level of education. Although it's not always the case that when parents have low education, they may not participate in promotion of the education of their children. But to a large extent, how active the parents are depends on how they value, the level at which they value education. Have they gone to themselves? Have they gone to school? Have they had a neighbor who has sent a child to school and have seen the proceeds of that, it all determines.
Well, we should also look at the structures, the schools that these girls go to. Are the schools favorable? Do they provide a favorable environment for the girls to study?
When we talk of the girls, it will be a little different, because from the FAWE perspective, the girls that we do support, for instance, under the scholarships, they go to specific schools, and the schools that they go to, we try
standard schools.
Exactly. In each of the regions in the country, we try to look at the schools that are going to provide quality education to the children. But looking at it generally, because there are some of the schools where we work, where we have interventions, but we may not necessarily be having scholarships there. And those are the schools both that are very good schools with a good academic background, but also schools with the low quality. But when we look at some of these schools, definitely one would not say that they have all the facilities that would motivate the girls to keep in school. When we talk of issues that would keep girls in school, of course they are quite elaborate. We'd look at things to do with the sanitary facilities in the schools. We'd look at issues to do with role models in the schools in terms of how many female teachers are in those schools to act as models to the girls. You look at playing facilities. You look at the teachers in the school. So you look at both the academic, the social, the physical, but in many of the schools, definitely, it is true that the facilities in those schools may not be conducive for the girls to go to school.
Have you raised an alarm over this?
Definitely we have, not once, not twice, but so many times. We've had researches conducted, we've had findings disseminated. We've disseminated at national level, we've disseminated at district level, we've disseminated at community level, and in all these we've had different stakeholders, both policymakers and then the implementers, and we have definitely advocated for improvement on some of the issues that have come out.
Well, Malcolm, when you look at the level of dropout from schools of girl children, would you find UPE and USE a blessing to the girl child movement?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because UPE and USE provide access to education. They open the gates for the girls to go to school. However, learning is more than just going to school. Learning is about the support that you have from home, the quality of school that you're going to, the support that you have from the school management committee in terms of improving the school, making it a child-friendly school. And when it comes to girls, the peculiar nature of their needs makes it very, very important that a school, that a child does not only go to school, but when they're going to school, you make sure that there are no barriers on the way to school. The school is close enough to the children that when they get to school, they are not bullied. They are not. They don't feel different. They don't feel stigmatized because of the different development stages that they go through. So all of that combined is what makes learning, and therefore, in addition to simply providing the UPE and the USE, there is a need to have that holistic education system.
So where are the glaring loopholes in UPE that you feel should be filled today?
Well, first and foremost, it is the quality of the schools that have the UPE. Many of the schools simply bring in the children and send them back. There is no emphasis on what these children are learning when they are at school. There is no emphasis on what you do when you go to school. It is simply go to school, time is up, go back home. So we should put a lot of emphasis on the school themselves. Do we have teachers absenting themselves, or do we ensure that they actually do go to class and teach these people who have come to school to learn?
Well, we'll go for a break at this moment, and when we return, we'll still be continuing with some of the hurdles that are facing, or rather that the activists are faced in ensuring girl child education in the country. Plus, of course, finding lasting solutions to these problems. Stay with us.
Hear the voices and the sounds of Africa. One love, one spirit, one heart in Africa. See the beautiful sunset of Africa.
Celebrate Africa with one rate, one Africa from Airtel. Call across all Africa at a flat rate of only 10 shillings per second. That's right, 10 shillings per second all day, all night. And stand a chance to win a fully paid trip for two to Mombasa every week. Another reason to celebrate Africa in proud association with Fly 540 Airlines and Serena Hotels. Terms and conditions apply.
Airtel. John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also help friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90, and we're looking at how the women movement in Uganda is trying to help in addressing the issue of ensuring that girl child education becomes one of the key priorities in the country. Martha, we were still continuing. By the way, in case you've just joined us, Martha Muhwezi is the Executive Director. FAWE-Uganda. FAWE is Forum for African Women
Educationalists.
So this is rather elitist, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
And urban-based?
No, not at all.
Where are you?
Not at all. We are everywhere in Uganda and everywhere in Africa, in 36 countries in Africa.
Oh, that's great. I'm dealing with an international character. Okay. So, you are still taking us through what exactly you're doing. Now, we would like to know some of the approaches that FAWE has adopted, maybe with the key stakeholders. But before we even go there, what's FAWE's relationship like with government through the Ministry of Education?
Yeah, FAWE has a very good working relationship with the Ministry of Education, and this is because FAWE supplements the government efforts in as far as education is concerned. And in all interventions that FAWE comes up with, we work very closely with the Ministry of Education to ensure that all that is done is not duplicated, and all that is done is for the good of the education and the education of the children. So we work very, very closely with the Ministry of Education.
Have you taken on any recent approaches towards solving the problem of girl child dropout and girl child education in the country?
Yeah, we have, as FAWE. I will point at one of the most recent, which was last year, and that is when the Ministry of Education contracted FAWE-Uganda under the ADB4 project to implement the bursary scheme and the gender considerations in 42 secondary schools and 4 BTVET institutions. And I believe all this was because of the efforts of FAWE for the last over 14 years. All that has been done, all the innovations, all the activities that have been implemented by FAWE to promote the education of the girl child. And under this ADB project, FAWE has last year offered 750 scholarships to children, this time not only girls, but 25% boys and 75% girls.
Isn't 700 quite dismal looking at the population that we have in the country?
Well, correct, it is small, but it's better than nothing. At least it is something. If you can create a difference in the lives of 750 children, I believe it is worth the effort.
So these are role models?
I would think so. If they are successful in their education, we believe at FAWE that they will impact on many more other children.
What monitoring mechanisms have you put in place to ensure that you follow them through?
Yeah, we have a database, and we have committees both at school and at district level and at national level, and we have the program of mentors. Most of the children are mentored, they are attached to mentors. We have mentors who visit schools, we have mentors who even visit homes depending on the circumstances that the different children face. So all those are mechanisms to ensure that the children are followed up.
Are these schools fall in a central region, or it's a nationwide program?
It's a nationwide program, and the 42 schools I'm talking of under the ADB particularly are in all the regions, the geographical regions of the country.
We're looking at the eastern end, that is the eastern axis, that is most affected, that is grossly affected by the problem of dropout. How many schools were catered for in the eastern region, for instance?
There are over 10, I think about 15 in the eastern region. And when we're talking of eastern, definitely we are starting from the Busoga region, going through Tororo, going through up to the Teso region, through Mbale and the Teso region. And we have quite a number of schools that we are working in. I think there are about...
in Karamoja?
Karamoja has a different program. Karamoja has a scholarship program which is funded by the Embassy of Ireland, and this has been on since 2005, and each year we take on 200 students from the Karamoja region, and we take them on from senior 1 and we take them through to senior 6.
Isn't it rather unfortunate that while you continue with your activism on girl child education, you don't take interest on girls who have dropped out of school? You just compute data and come out to raise it, because we would be seeing FAWE at least embarking on vocational education, embarking on other skills, empowering these girls who've dropped out of schools out of very unfortunate circumstances. To you, Malcolm.
Thank you. We actually have taken studies on why these girls drop out. Some of the issues that come up include the family situations at home, include the community attitude, and as part of some of our programs, we have community advocacy programs where we go and speak to the community and try and interest them in the need for girl child education, the need to support the child, not just send them to school and leave them out there. In the schools, we have mentoring programs, we have training for teachers to inform them on how better to handle issues concerning girls. Another big standout has been pregnancy that has caused girls to drop out. And very recently we have partnered with UNICEF in conducting a research study on how to allow girls who dropped out due to pregnancy to go back to school, those who are still interested in going back to school, to actually be able to access education post delivery.
Before I get to Malcolm, Martha, the issue of pregnancy, early child pregnancy, I think hinges directly on sex education in schools. We need to know FAWE's stand on sex education in schools, which has lately become a very contentious subject, with the president saying he is discouraging sex education in schools. What is FAWE's position?
Yeah, thank you. Before I go to that, I wanted to say that FAWE does not only concentrate on girls that are in school, but FAWE concentrates even on girls that have dropped out of school. And we have a program which is supporting over 100 girls in the districts of Chenjojo and Chibale, and these are specifically girls who had dropped out of school due to pregnancy. So
what do you do with them?
They have gone back to school.
You reintegrate
We
them in
reintegrated
school?
them in school, and they're in Chenjojo Secondary, they're in Margaret Girls, they are in Katoke Secondary, they're in Bukomero.
Why Chenjojo specifically?
Yeah, because we carried out a research, and the findings revealed that Chenjojo, Chivale had a very high rate of dropouts due to pregnancy, quite a number of girls, and that's why we concentrated on that region.
So what's the incidence like in other areas of the country?
Yeah, of course, I want to say that it's not only FAWE that is participating.
But it's FAWE I'm hosting tonight.
Definitely. Yeah, that is correct. But I also want to know that FAWE can't do. I want to say that FAWE can't do each and everything.
Yes.
And while some other partners are in Bujiri, because you know that Bujiri is one of those districts with very high rates of dropouts because of pregnancy, there are other NGOs, there are other partners that are in some of those regions.
So then, what is FAWE's position on sex education?
Now, when we come to sex education, FAWE believes in adolescent sexual reproductive health education. We do not necessarily talk about sex education, but our approach is the children need to know about themselves, they need to know about their body, they need to know about the body changes, they need to know about the growth, they need to know what happens at what level when what happens to them. And it's a comprehensive package. When the president talked about, doesn't want sex education in school, but some of us thought he had not been informed correctly. We felt he may not be very aware of what happens in school, because when people are talking of sex education, it's like people are going to the children, telling them, this is how to sleep with a man, this is how to do this. That's not the case.
Maybe that's what is packaged in the syllabus.
No, it's not. It's not.
Have you taken time to read the syllabus?
Definitely, yes.
What's in there?
It's about adolescent sexual reproductive health, and it talks about age appropriate information. When you're talking to children of, say, up to 12 years, the kind of information they are given is to know about the body changes, to know what happens when, like for instance, when you're talking about menstruation, what happens at that level. When one is menstruating, what happens? That is the kind of information. When people are becoming adults, we are telling them of what happens to an adult. What if you are into adolescent stage? What do you have to take note of? If somebody approaches you, we talk about issues of bad touches, we talk about issues of sexual harassment. We alert them of what response they should have, should they be harassed or should there be intentions of sexual harassment. That is the kind of education. But when people talk about sex education, the interpretation is definitely different.
Martha, we're looking at teachers in majority UPE and USE schools who are disenfranchised, who are not having good remuneration. And you're encouraging them, or rather you're urging them to be partners in teaching sex education in schools. Do you think this is likely to be enforced as you wish?
Yeah, when you're a teacher and when you're training to be a teacher, there is nowhere in the curriculum that mentions about remuneration, that mentions about salary, that mentions of what you're supposed. But
it's
as
automatic.
A teacher, well, it may be automatic, but if you are a teacher who is necessarily looking out for salary, it's a different issue. But a teacher who knows that I'm being trained as a teacher, and when I qualify, this is what is expected of me, definitely remuneration it's secondary. It's not primary. And I wouldn't think because of the low pay or the poor pay, the teachers will not handle the issues of adolescent sexual reproductive health education in the schools.
Have you in any way tried to engage these teachers in the schools that you selected as model schools? Have you tried to engage these teachers to package it in a way that wouldn't otherwise divert kids or wouldn't otherwise spoil our children?
What happens is we train teachers. as FAWE. We train teachers. We have capacity building programs. We have come up with manuals, and we use these manuals to train the teachers on what kind of information they should pass on to the children and the approaches that are.
So you've gone against the president's directive and went ahead to teach.
I'm not aware of whether I've gone against the president's directive, because this is something that we have done ever since FAWE was started in Uganda. Not only Uganda, but in Africa.
You won't stop.
And we do continue, because from what we have done, we've not seen any negative impact of the information given to the child. For instance, preparing them to say no to sexual harassment, to say no to bad advances, to say no to all that would lead them into unwanted pregnancies, that would lead them into early marriages. We haven't had any negative impact. And I'm sure if the president took interest in the FAWE work and picked the manuals that FAWE uses for training these children, I would think he would have a very, very different view of the whole issue.
Now, over to you, to Kesiga Julius.
Yep.
How do we bring in the community to be supportive towards the cause for girl child education?
Okay, thank you very much. How we bring in the community is, first of all, to keep on raising awareness on their roles and responsibilities. Because
so what's the community responsibility like?
The community responsibility is they are supposed to support the schools in the teaching and learning of these children. And the support is in many forms. One is in the form of monitoring what goes on in the schools, monitoring teacher attendance, for instance, monitoring head teachers' activities, like supervision of the teachers in the class as they teach. So the community, once is aware, then I believe all these issues, the challenges that are affecting the girls' attendance, retention, completion, will be reduced.
Well, I'll invite our callers at this moment to make your contributions on this topic as we look at ways through which we can overcome the hurdles towards having a comprehensive girl child education movement and girl child education program in Uganda. Our lines to call 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. Please feel free to call, give us your name and where you're calling from, plus make your contribution at this moment. Our lines are now open for you to take your calls. But before we even go into our calls, we're looking at economic constraints, among other factors that could be affecting girl child education in the country. But you don't seem to find it so much as one of the prime reasons why we're having this dropout rate.
Well, we have spoken about the ease in access that has been provided by USE and by UPE and by the several other stakeholders that have taken interest in one way or another subsidizing the cost of education in this country for the girls and as well as for the boys, and that is a step towards reducing the burden, the economic burden that is felt by our community.
Let's first go in for our first caller. Hello, good morning, caller.
Hello.
Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Jackie.
Good evening, Jackie.
I'm calling from Bunda.
Yes, please.
And I just want to make a contribution.
Well, what are some of the disadvantages of teaching sex education in schools?
Now, one of the
Thank you very much and have a good evening. Another caller. Hello, good evening. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, please. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Dorothy. I'm calling from Bengal.
Hi, Dorothy.
Yeah, I work with children who are vulnerable. I work with a non-government organization.
Please reduce the volume of your set.
Okay. I work with children. I work with a
Okay. Hello, good evening, caller. We'll go for another one. Hello.
I salute you in the name of Almighty Allah.
How are you, sir?
This is Ali Kazazan getting a moment former MOP for the Spanish County Law.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm still under.
Thank you. We'll take our last call at this moment. Hello? Well, maybe before we take our last caller, you'd... okay. Hello, good evening, caller.
Hello.
Yes, sorry, sir.
This is Martin from Karanga.
Yes, Martin. Very much. Well, that's a credit on your performance. I'll start with Martha. Jackie, a teacher, called and told you about the dangers of sex education in schools. How do you intend to address this curiosity that is checked in the moment you teach these kids about sex?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you to Jackie for raising that. But what I want to say is the negative effects that we talk about basically rely or are based on the approaches, on the methodologies, and on the kind of information that is passed on to the children.
So is there any subtle way through which you can
what I said, there is what we call age-appropriate information. If you are talking to an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old, the information you pass on is not the same information that you're passing on to a 5-year-old. And when Jackie talks about excitement, it depends on what you're telling the children. Are you telling them about sex, or are you telling them about sexual reproductive health issues? It depends on what you're talking about. If you're going to excite children by telling them all those things that are going to... Otherwise, we have gone to schools, we have talked to children. I have not seen the kind of excitement that Jackie could be pointing.
What kind of reaction do you trigger when you talk about
children? Will ask you questions which are pertinent. How will you know that this is sexual harassment? How will you differentiate between this and this? How do you say no to such and such a thing?
Maybe you have a unique model that's yet to be adopted.
That's why, Simon, I would want Jackie to get in touch with FAWE, and we can be able to share the information that we have, to share the approach, to share the methodologies that we have.
Well, let me get to Malcolm. Dorothy raised a very critical point, saying, are you bringing on other people on board to ensure that you work together? And how do they get to contact you?
Thank you very much, Dorothy. We have quite a number of programs that we have running, and like Martha had said earlier, the will at FAWE to support more and more children, girls and boys, is very, very high. The challenge is with the funding that goes with that kind of support, and whenever we have been able to secure funding, we have sent out adverts and called for applications and supported as many children as we can. On how to contact FAWE.
Right.
We are based in Bukoto. The National Secretariat is based in Bukoto, plot 328, Magulu Lane in Bukoto, and you can be able to find us at our home in there. You can also check our website, www.FAWE-Uganda.org. That will give you a lot of information on the activities that we do. Our phone number is 414-236-863, and that too is on 24/7.
What's your national outlook like? Do you have branches all over the country, or?
No, we don't have branches countrywide, but we work through the district education officers.
Okay.
The office in the different districts, and we also work through the schools. So we don't have branches.
As we wind up, I would like to take your closing remarks.
Yes, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share on this topic, and to drum up this issue that is important for us to all get involved at the home level, at the school level, at the community level, and just remind our viewers or our listeners of an old African adage that it takes a community to raise a child.
All right.
Yeah, just to thank all those that are participating in the promotion of girl child education, and I want to say that keeping the children in school, particularly the girls, having them complete, takes a lot of effort and calls for all to be involved.
Do you feel you're doing enough awareness?
I don't know what enough is, but we are doing adequate awareness. Yes.
Okay. The last remarks.
Thank you, our listeners. What I would like to say is that it takes a joint effort for us to be able to promote and realize girls' education. So I call upon everyone, every stakeholder, to actively participate in promotion of girls' education.
All right, thank you very much. And on that note, we come to the end of the Spectrum tonight, and I must really thank our listeners out there for your very interesting contributions and for tuning in. It's Spectrum, returning tomorrow. I've been your host, Simon Kagwa. Have a good night.
Wait, turn off the music. Guys.